First, it was a unanimous decision in a Colorado lawsuit. Now, former President Trump is 2 for 2 in front of the Supreme Court. And while being granted immunity might seem like a win, a former U.S. attorney calls the decision middle ground.
The Supreme Court, I thought, brought some sanity back to the discussion.
The ink's barely dry on Colorado's newest gun control measure, and local governments are already refusing to participate. TSA might not always get glowing reviews, but travelers sure like to tip how the agency's paying for new gadgets, a nickel and a dime at a time.
So I think we're really making an impact, but we have some work to do.
And it's the return of our favorite Z word. With so many drivers on the road this holiday week, pass the knowledge along. You never know who might zipper merge next. Fresh off his U.S. Supreme Court victory over Coloradan Norma Anderson, former President Trump is now 2 for 2. The highest court today gave Trump his biggest victory, this one in a case about absolute immunity. Two things are now clear. Trump's victory in the Colorado case earlier this year allowed him to remain on ballots across the country, and his victory today makes it almost a certainty that he will not face trial prior to the November election. Former U.S. Attorney for Colorado Troy Ide told me today this should have been expected. It is a winning percentage even the Colorado Rockies would be jealous of. Former President Trump is 2 for 2 at the U.S. Supreme Court. When the justices ruled 9-0 in favor of him in March, it was over Republican former state lawmaker Norma Anderson. That win allowed Trump to remain qualified to run for president. Today's 6-3 decision allowed him absolute immunity for official acts he made as president.
I want to be clear, both sides were very extreme in this case.
Troy Ide, a former U.S. attorney for Colorado appointed by former President George W. Bush, expected an opinion like the one issued today.
The government said presidents have absolutely no protection from immunity at all when they leave office, which is not a good rule. Trump said president can do whatever they want. They have absolute immunity no matter what. That's not a good rule. So the Supreme Court, I thought, brought some sanity back to the discussion.
The case was about the acts of then President Trump following his November 2020 loss and efforts to have the results overturned. The Supreme Court said today that the president has absolute immunity for official acts, but unofficial acts have no immunity. So what is an unofficial act? The Supreme Court punted that back to the district court, saying the high court is a court of final review and not first view.
What the court has said is that on these specific factual matters, they're not going to decide that.
This Supreme Court ruling says if the president is doing an official act, he is immune from prosecution. This was federal, so it does not apply to all heads of state, like, say, Democratic Governor Jared Polis.
Now, the legislature could try to impose some kind of a new immunity standard for him. But I think the same principle ought to apply to him.
Former President Trump is not the only one getting a break from the Supreme Court when it comes to January 6th. In another recent opinion, the court limited the charges hundreds of January 6th defendants could face. The decision took away federal obstruction charges for rioters unless they tampered with physical evidence or documents during the insurrection. More than 100 January 6 defendants, including at least 2 from Colorado, have been convicted of that charge. 9 News Investigates has learned from 2 sources the funeral home owners accused of abandoning nearly 200 bodies in a building have been offered a plea deal. An email to victims obtained by 9 News showed John and Carrie Halford could plead guilty to abuse of a corpse. John would get 20 years in prison. Carrie would get 15 to 20 years. The owners of Return to Nature Funeral Home in Penrose are currently facing more than 200 charges. The couple is also facing separate federal fraud charges for misusing COVID relief money. The email sent to victims says the plea offer will expire in October. The couple will be back in court next Thursday. Happy New Year. You're thinking, no, you mean Happy Almost Independence Day. No, Happy New Year. State government celebrates its New Year today with checkbooks that start at 0 and new laws that take effect, including one that local governments are already opting out of en masse. You can no longer carry firearms in so-called sensitive spaces. Democrats at the state legislature passed the law making it a misdemeanor to open or conceal carry at the state capitol, schools, universities, and government buildings. But local governments are allowed to override the restriction on their property, like courthouses and county offices where you can vote. Routt County opted out this afternoon. County commissioners instead want to know how much it will cost to add security measures to polling locations and government buildings. Several local governments opted out before the law took effect today, including Douglas and Mesa counties and the town of Castle Rock. Town councilors in Monument opted out last month after arguing whether or not the bill would actually stop someone from carrying a gun.
I would want the ability to protect myself or somebody else to anybody, any criminal isn't going to care. If they have intent to do bad, they're going to conceal and carry illegally and hurt somebody.
Doesn't necessarily keep someone from walking in with the gun, but it gives a defined law where they can be held accountable and punished for.
Even though the state capitol is in the law as a sensitive space, there will likely be lawmakers carrying concealed. When debating the bill earlier this year, Republican State Senator Jim Smallwood questioned how the bill could stop him from bringing a firearm to the state capitol because the state constitution protects lawmakers from being arrested on a misdemeanor charge during the legislative session. The attempt to oust Colorado Republican Party Chairman Dave Williams has stalled because of a formal complaint. Last week, we told you that critics of Williams said they collected enough signatures to force a vote within the party to remove Williams. Well, now there's a complaint wanting more proof of the signatures. Two former state lawmakers, Tim Leonard and Ted Harvey, filed the complaint to party leadership. They say the list of names of people calling for a vote to remove Williams is insufficient because there were no signatures or addresses or dates, just 112 names. They want to see a paper trail, text messages or emails from those 112 saying, yes, we seek to remove that guy Williams. We reached out to the party to find out what happens next and have not heard back. You don't need us to tell you the airport is busy this holiday week. What you might need is a reminder to not inadvertently make a donation to the TSA as you're passing through security. As people race to their destinations, Mark Salinger found out they leave a little behind, which adds up to a lot.
So I can tell you that things have been very busy here over the last several days.
With all the cameras gathered at the airport,
We're not only busy here, but we're busy across the country.
there's a lot of focus on people coming and going for the holiday.
We're looking nationwide at a potential record.
But
on
what
Sunday,
caught
July
our
7th at the
attention
ATC.
is something that won't make it to its destination this Independence Day.
People leave things in bins all the time because they put loose items in the bin.
That includes money. Way more money than we ever thought people would leave behind at security checkpoints.
Yes.
Lori Danters with TSA crunched the numbers for us.
Travelers departing Den left more than $18,500 in the bins. Now, believe me, those were in nickels, dimes, and pennies in most cases, but that adds up.
$18,502 last year, more than $21,000 in 2019. Around the country, it added up to more than $800,000 left behind in 2022. In 2018, it was nearly $1 million.
I don't know how you forget that amount of money.
Yeah, that's a lot higher than I thought.
I can't believe people are just like leaving that amount.
So let's put that into perspective. That $18,500 left behind here last year could be used to buy more than 230 checked bags on Frontier Airlines. Or how about putting it towards nearly 3,000 hours worth of parking in the expensive lot?
That is a lot of money, and those people donated that money to the TSA. We use that money for aviation security.
Every penny counts when millions of people forget things here every day.
It's a lot of money that was built up over just little bits of change at any given time.
Small donation to the TSA. So while Denver is the 6th busiest airport in the world when it comes to planes and passengers, it's only the 11th busiest for TSA screening in the country. That's because a lot of people come through DIA on connections, don't actually go through security checkpoints here. That's why the cash found here in Denver is actually lower, Marshall, than a lot of other airports around the country.
Do you carry change often?
I don't. So I have never forgotten. I've never made that donation to the TSA.
This is shocking to me, and I joked with you earlier that we need to tell some of the viewers what change is.
Yeah, what is change?
Money's not the only thing that I assume people leave behind.
Yeah, so I, for one, have gotten my hiking poles confiscated. I didn't know that you couldn't bring those through, but you can't. Word to the wise right there. But say you got something confiscated that you can't bring through, a knife, whatever you forgot. That all goes to the state surplus store, and then there are auctions, or you can go buy it for like $1 a piece. I have never seen that store. I don't know what's in it, but I can imagine there are some wild things.
I want to say Jeremy Hohola
There you go.
did a story about what ends up there. Maybe we need to go through the footage and see if there's a Salinger pole there.
Maybe I'll find my hiking poles.
All right. Thanks, Mark. We want to say a quick thank you for all you've done this week to support veterans in Colorado as they move from homelessness to stability. Kyle's on the road with an update on our latest Word of Thanks micro-giving campaign.
Thanks for being with Next while I'm away. And thank you for what you did to help finish the Veterans Community Project in Longmont. It's the tiny home village for homeless veterans and their families with wraparound services to address whatever challenges they might have. You raised more than $55,000 to get that project closer to completion. If you know of a cause in Colorado that could use our help working together as a community, email me next@9news.com.
It's a real-life version of You Don't Have to Leave, but you can't stay here. Denver has closed its last hotel shelter for migrants as new arrivals reach their lowest point in over a year. Fire crews finally make some headway containing the Oak Ridge fire burning in Pueblo County. Why they might give up some of that progress as a firefighting strategy.
It's hard when you're the one doing it properly and people are flipping you off and honking at you.
No, that's why we have to spread the word. To Zip It, Colorado. Next. Denver has closed its last hotel shelter for migrants as new arrivals bottom out. City leaders estimate there are less than 10 migrants currently remaining in short-term shelters compared to 5,200 sheltered at the start of the year. Denver started shutting down its 7 hotel shelters for migrants in April as new arrivals dropped and the city stopped offering long-term shelter options to all but a small group of migrants. The final shelter is now closed, with the remaining residents moving into apartments or transitional housing. There are still short-term shelter sites open for new arrivals, 2 in the last 24 hours. The city estimates it has cost more than $72 million to support 42,000 migrants since late 2022. Firefighters in Pueblo County are trying a new strategy to get a wildfire under control. Let it spread and burn while conditions are calm. Sounds wild, but the wildfire could benefit from burning more. Lightning sparked the Oak Ridge fire more than a week ago, and it has spread to more than 1,100 acres. It's 5% contained now. That number could actually drop as the fire is allowed to burn more fuel in calmer conditions. A mandatory evacuation is still in place for Middle Creek Canyon Road in Beulah. The U.S. Forest Service in Pueblo County will hold a community meeting tonight updating the plan. Great weather today for firefighting efforts, Kathy, and I know you know I love weather like this compared to what we've seen in June.
Oh my gosh, me too. And typically, you know, Marshall, we talk about this. July is hot, right? Dry. We talk about fire danger. But today, if you were outside, we had this mix of clouds and sunshine, and the humidity in the air was higher, and it just felt so good. Temperatures held in the low to mid 80s until late in the day when the sun came out. Denver up to 89 now, 86 in Greeley, 90s, and triple-digit highs in southeastern Colorado. We've got a severe thunderstorm watch to the north, a tornado watch to the east, and gentle showers coming in from the southwest. Now, because the steering winds aloft are light, the storms are moving slowly, so on saturated soils, we'll have some flooding concerns, and we have seen that in and around the Montrose County area and across the town of Nucla. Severe weather threat is low tonight and also for tomorrow, and when we say there's a marginal risk, the area in green, this means wind and maybe a little bit of lightning and some small hail, but there's a low tornado risk, and that's what we'll be watching over the next couple of days. So a stray shower tonight, another stray shower overnight, and then we're going to do this all over again tomorrow as a weak front moves in from the northwest. Severe weather threat is low, and we will take the rain all day. We have partly cloudy skies heading into the evening and temperatures trending cooler but comfortable. 86 tomorrow with an isolated shower, up to 92 Wednesday. But for the 4th of July, mild and dry, mid-80s, and it looks like Mother Nature will hold off on her fireworks. We get back into sunshine and 90s for Saturday, Sunday, and Monday of next week.
Learn to do it properly. Don't merge too early, and then you too can benefit from the extra space.
Could not have said it better. Printed on a bumper sticker. You too can zipper properly this 4th of July. And final honors for an American soldier more than 80 years after his death. Next. When I spell my last name, I learned from my mom to say Z as in zebra. Now I'm thinking I should say Z as in zipper, because it will bring more attention to our campaign to Zip It, Colorado. This everyday zipper merge opportunity has existed for as long as I can remember. Quebec and Alameda in Denver, right near Fairmount Cemetery. And today we saw expertise zippering. Drivers coming south through Lowry, across Alameda, zippering like a pro. Unlike the experience Denise Wells told us about at a construction zone at 120th and Huron in Thornton.
I kid you not, a black Jeep saw me coming and actually edged the front of their car into the merge lane, so myself and the people trying to zipper behind me could not get past. I tried to give the marshals zipper hand gesture, and I don't think they had any idea. I mean, if they'd been watching, they might have zippered properly, but yeah, they started doing this. They had no idea what I was doing, but so I think we're really making an impact, but we have some work to do.
Okay, let's practice, because that's the, like Dave Coulier cut it out. First, it's peace sign, then you close it, 2 lanes into 1. Just zip it, Colorado. May I make a recommendation? It's a story that makes your mommy issues look small by comparison. Mother doesn't always know best, the Neil Gorsuch story. Last week, conservatives on the Supreme Court struck down the Chevron doctrine, which you clearly all knew that for decades it gave federal agencies increased power to regulate countless industries. USA Today reporter Dan Morrison was quick to point out one of the architects of that doctrine was Justice Neil Gorsuch's own mother, a Denver attorney and Reagan-era EPA administrator. It's a quick primer on Ann Gorsuch's legacy and how her son became an unlikely ally in dismantling it. You can read the full article linked on our next social media pages and the recommendation page on 9news.com. This weekend, at long last, the remains of an American World War II soldier were laid to rest in Colorado decades after his death overseas. His descendants and veteran advocates from around the state showed up to honor him one last time. Clifford Strickland grew up on a Colorado farm. He enlisted in the Army in 1940. A few years later, he became one of more than 75,000 prisoners of war in the Battle of Bataan and died in a POW camp in the Philippines in 1942. Last week, we followed along as Strickland returned home. This weekend, Strickland got a proper military burial in Florence. Strickland's family has been preparing for this moment since last year when scientists were able to match Strickland's DNA to one of his great nephews. That is pretty amazing for science. Feedback coming up next. It's a sign that if you do not know the speed limit, it's apparently whatever you want it to be. It's probably the only time you can tell a police officer you did not see the speed limit sign and really mean it. Sean snapped this photo as he was leaving Sunlight Mountain Resort in Garfield County. He says everyone in the area knows the speed limit on the road just as slow. If you see a sign that makes you do a double take, email it to us at next@9news.com. Lots of zipper feedback. Jen, 270 drivers in Denver need the zipper desperately. That's also through Commerce City. Jen, there's a lot of problems with 270. That's just one of them. Sheila says we should teach drivers to also stop at red lights, but we can't do that because we have to focus on zipper merging because David writes, what the bleep is zipper merging? Don't forget to try it, and I'll see you next time.